As the drought continues to bite, more than 30 local councils have now imposed water restrictions in towns and cities across the state. The spring outlook for rainfall doesn't offer great hope either. But communities are doing what they can, some spending millions of dollars to shore up supplies. Jessica Van Vonderen is tonight in Townsville, which is on level 2 restrictions. Jess, how's it affecting the city?
Well, Matt, it is pretty brown as you drive through the streets of this North Queensland city. But look, in a way, people are used to it. This is the dry tropics. For up to 8 months of the year, very little rain falls here. We've heard so many stories recently about the heartbreak of the drought in rural and country areas. And while the situation might not be quite so dire in our towns and cities, residents are being told to rein in their water use. In a city that gets more than 300 days of sunshine every year, water is everything. Townsville's main supply comes from the Ross River Dam. After big falls in February, it went from a dire 15% capacity to 75% today. Level 3 water restrictions were eased back to level 2. But gardening enthusiasts are still struggling to keep their lawns green.
We've just lost 2 major nurseries locally. They've closed because of the drought.
It's been a dry winter in the northern city, but the council's not sitting around waiting for rain. A $215 million pipeline, big enough for Jonathan Thurston to stand up in, will be in place by December next year. Early works have begun.
That will allow us to pump more than 230 megalitres a day of water into the city.
It'll come from the Burdekin Falls dam, the cost to ratepayers still unknown.
We're doing all that modelling, but the reality is we are very conscious of trying to maintain reasonable pricing for water.
Level 2 restrictions will remain in force here until the pipeline's built. But of course, Townsville's not the only place grappling with the dry. Across Queensland, dozens of towns in more than 30 local government areas have some kind of limits on water use. In Dalby on the Darling Downs, the backup water source is running low.
It is very dry.
The region's mayor is battling the drought firsthand in his cotton and barley fields, but townfolk are affected too. Level 3 restrictions mean only handheld hosing on certain days of the week at certain times of the day.
I'm finding it hard. I don't like being told when I can water and how much I can water. But no, I get by. I'm sure everyone's doing the same thing.
One of the great things about our community, they're hard, they're tough and they're resilient.
The council will spend $1 million to sink another bore.
Which will add more water so we don't go to level 4. And this is being proactive in our council.
Proactive is good policy. The spring rainfall predictions are uncertain.
We'd all love it to be looking to be a much wetter than average outlook, but unfortunately that isn't the case at the moment.
Temperatures are expected to be warmer than average too. There are no water restrictions in the southeast corner because the dams are at a very healthy combined capacity of 77%. But we know it's a very different story with the drought out west. And in some ways it seems that social media is adding to farmers' woes. One grazier posted some confronting images online of struggling stock and found herself the subject of an investigation. And a warning, this story contains some graphic images.
Pat Noon spends her days looking after livestock on her drought-ravaged property in southwest Queensland. She wanted the rest of the country to know about her struggles and used social media to share the harshness of life on the land.
It's a reality that if there's a cow bogged, you've got to shoot it if you can't get it out. And if there's a cow down, you've got to shoot it if you can't get it up. So I'd like them to understand that that's not our first choice.
But the reality for Pat Noon was an investigation by the Queensland Department of Agriculture over her duty of care to her livestock.
Worried, every emotion available, I think, in that we try to do our best for all our animals.
Her cattle were being moved to better pastures at the time of the photos, but that wasn't conveyed in the post.
With our social licence, the consumers today and the public expect a high standard.
The Cattle Council says social media is a minefield.
We've got a brand in this industry and we sell a product, and it upsets me when I see animals and those sort of things happen because it tarnishes our brand.
We were hoping to give the people in the city that had no idea the reality check.
After a visit to Pat Noon's property, the government investigation concluded there was no evidence to support further action into whether she had breached the Animal Care and Protection Act. The experience has left her shaken, but she hopes to keep sharing stories of life on the land. Melanie Groves, ABC News, Mitchell.